everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Zalora Talks with me, your host, Yasmine. I hope all of our listeners are doing super wherever it is you're tuning in from. Well, as we all know, the pandemic has affected us all. And I came across a local news article just a few days ago about how I think it was like 10,000 individuals, 10,000, they've been declared bankrupt in Malaysia, where I'm from, since lockdown last year. And to add fuel to fire, a total of like 1,200, something around there, businesses shut down as well. And it's really a matter of survival of the fittest here. But I think one of the biggest questions now is, how do we make lemonades out of lemons? And honestly, I get it. Last year, in the heat of the pandemic, I was given a massive curveball the moment the publishing house I worked for was forced to shut down. So I did what everyone else did at the time, and that was to cook. One of my personal specialties is making hummus from scratch, And I turned that into a teeny home business out of like my small kitchen, just as when like things were starting to get back up on track. Now, with that in mind, we're here today with someone who I'm uber excited to introduce. And that's also because, she's from one of the largest payment channels in the world. But ultimately, I do hope that this episode serves as a guiding light to anyone out there struggling to get back on their feet and potentially come back stronger. So please join me in welcoming Kasia Leyden, Vice President of Global Marketing at PayPal. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to chat to you.
Yay. Just, from my personal experience, and I'm sure a lot of other people who are listening on to this episode, it's, trying to get back on their feet is something a bit of a mission right now. It's definitely something to take into account when you have so many businesses who are just starting up and, they don't know where to start, having lost their jobs and everything else. But, having said that, do you think that those who currently have a business right now are more of an advantage than those who are just starting up, especially given the fact that, everyone now has to recalibrate and re-strategize?
Yeah, it's a great question and a great topic. I mean, as a company, PayPal is really at the heart of small business all around the world. And, I'm based out of Singapore usually, so I do a lot of, speaking with local companies, small businesses, all the way up to CEOs of enterprise organizations. And, the key message that I'm hearing is digitize to thrive, right? And you just have to survive in today's economy. We had the digitization trend we've had it coming for a really long time, but COVID completely kind of poured fuel on that fire. And so I'd say, when you look at the numbers, and I was reflecting with the leadership team, if we look back at Q1, we have had 2 customers joining our platform every second and a new business joining us every 5 seconds. So that in itself are phenomenal statistics that show you which way the world is headed, and the digital payment revolution is here. And in order to really build and grow and reshape and kind of pivot your business, you really need to be thinking about all of those, all of those characteristics that would make for, a seamless online experience. And, what a great topic to discuss today.
Yeah, especially with like everyone who's just about to start up their business. And, in Malaysia as well, I don't know whether you've heard this, support local, but so many people are starting up their own like home businesses. Either it's like from baking or like, people like me who are just making sauces out of the kitchen. But one of my best friends have started doing that, and I mean, taking all of that into consideration as well, what are the key factors do you usually take into account when it comes to, penetrating the online market? Because as you said before, digitize to strive or thrive.
I love the point you make around, your own experience and really building a tiny business out of your home to think about how you can engage with the community, how you can make and support your living and give yourself purpose and identity. And, a lot of time entrepreneurial businesses are founded exactly out of those ingredients. And one of the key trends that I'm seeing at the moment is really this notion of having an instant global business. And you can have an instant global business out of the kitchen in your own home. And, PayPal as a payments platform, sits at the heart of that by connecting buyers and sellers in more than 200 markets around the world. And so really thinking outside of your house, your market, and thinking about what proposition do I bring to the customer? What's the benefit? How do I communicate that? And really thinking outside the borders is critical to success, because e-commerce enables that, in its current day and age. I mean, I think another factor, to consider is, we saw such a huge spike in shopping trends during COVID because we were all forced indoors. And, you could look back on that and say, well, that's just because you're stuck indoors and you've got no other option. So you've got to get your groceries, you've got to order your takeout, you've got to get, all of your other amenities serviced through online. And, we're not seeing that slow down. We did a piece of research, it's called the Borderless Commerce Report, that shows that shoppers are expected to increase that and double that, if not more, double their online shopping habits this year.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of them.
So that habituation is just completely, it's going to become a part of the fabric of our everyday lives. So you really do have to think about how you optimize your payment experience. How do you give your customer the choice of the funding instruments that they care about, that they're comfortable using, and really give them that choice and control. Secondly, I mentioned globalization. But really what I talk about, global and cross-border, that's all about connectivity to customers and to markets, and giving yourself as an entrepreneur or a small business owner the best possible shot at success. And so, really partnering, the way that we partner with businesses, it's about opening up those consumer networks. It's about opening up the doors to strategic partners and new sales channels, and giving you access to tools that you may not have even thought you needed. And then I guess lastly, which I think is often a point forgotten, particularly for this, new sort of digital generation of, we would call them digital natives, is, we used to think of security and safety as table stakes. But everything that we're seeing from research suggests that security, data, privacy, and trust is now more than ever at the forefront of your decision making in what you purchase and where you purchase from, and who you choose to buy something with. And so that proposition of trust and having that as a core tenet with an e-commerce platform and a payments provider that you choose is absolutely critical to consumers' sentiment, and also your credibility as a business moving forward.
Just going back to that whole digital citizen, especially now with a lot of Gen Zs and millennials coming into the whole entire mix, and if not taking the entire slice of the pie, they're really putting I think content is like one of the key things as well when it comes to like online businesses, and especially marketing, but the issue is that you have, for small businesses, they don't often, or the biggest misconception is that you need a huge following in order for you to succeed. You have like businesses like Kim Kardashian is pretty much like a Kim Kardashian effect, I want to call it. But Kylie Jenner, Chrissy Teigen, all these celebrities, and I'm not just talking about, the international, like global stars, but also the ones local. And local ones there's this huge misconception that if you have a large following, you'd probably be more successful in trying to, scale up your business, or trying to get a bit more, consumer awareness and brand awareness and all of that. Now, do you think that businesses can achieve a somewhat comparable level of success with only a limited amount of resources?
it's a really interesting challenge, right, for brands that aren't the Kim Kardashians of the world. And, I think of Zalora, and the power and the scale, of the platform, particularly coming into the holiday season. You would think, okay, brands like that with the credibility and the scale and the breadth and, the tenure really are at the top of the tree in terms of consumer choice. So, I think your question is, well, what if you're not? How do you get there? And what I think about that from a marketing perspective is, one of the biggest trends from a consumer standpoint, and really the connection between consumer insight and marketing strategy for me is that content is the new consumer currency. We now communicate, we recommend, we choose based on hashtags, GIFs, memes, posts, stories. Like that is how you pick and choose what you wear, where you go, and what you do with your money. And it's really all about storytelling and personal connection and, connecting with consumers through insights that are tied to cultural or product or partner narratives across every part of the customer funnel. And that can be really hard to execute because it's very tempting to sometimes talk about the features and the benefits or the promotion, rather than what a brand, what sort of lifestyle or experience or benefit a brand can sort of afford you. And through that connection. So for me, authenticity, really being true to the brand and the value proposition, being bold, unique, memorable, and having the guts and the courage to own that space and not to blend into what everyone else is saying and doing. That's huge as a standout factor. I think secondly, something that I'm particularly passionate about, in terms of driving, from a PayPal perspective is cultural resonance. How do you tie what you have to the everyday moments, to pop culture, to consumer trends and emerging values? I think in fashion specifically, and we're seeing it in the fashion vertical across the board, sustainability and shopping local are incredibly important in this COVID age where consumers really want to feel like they're putting their money into brands that they share values with and they feel like they're doing good alongside. That's something that's been bubbling away over the past few years, but personally, I feel like COVID has really accelerated. And then, lastly, I think of this concept of timeliness. Sometimes small businesses and, emerging brands don't have budgets to be everywhere at all times to all people. And so really thinking about choosing your moments, and, particularly with the holiday season coming up, how do you cultivate that and kind of go to a fewer, bigger, better strategy rather than feeling like you have to kind of spread your resources out across every single moment? So, I guess all of that comes back to, really looking at customer insight, looking at the trends in your category, and making some strategic choices. And, I think, what's interesting, about that entire, if you think about that as marketing actions, off the back of that, consumers have a really strong expectation around that holiday season for customer support. I think the demand and the expectation around customer support during the holiday season, it goes up by something like 42%, right? So you really need to be thinking about that end-to-end experience. But as it relates to marketing, my perspective is really around that authenticity, that cultural resonance, and really picking and choosing your moments to really shine and capture the attention of your audience.
I just want to kind of go back to what you said before about how, the whole budget actually is really such a big issue now for SMEs and, emerging businesses. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions I think about setting up an online store today, and I guess this probably resonates with a lot of home business owners, is the complexity of setting up payment channels. Now, how does PayPal come in to solve this issue?
This is one of the reasons why I love working for PayPal. It's nearly 10 years for me with the business, and I love it for the fact that it it opens up opportunities for consumers and businesses around the world, and it does that really simply. I think testament to the ease and the simplicity is the fact that we are adding, 16,000 merchants every single day. 16,000 businesses are joining the platform. And with that comes an instant global business. Your doors are open. That PayPal checkout button on your website or on your app is a signal to consumers, 400 million consumers around the world, that you are open for business. So really thinking about that, taking advantage of the partnership with PayPal and the global scale, the simplicity of that single account and integration. And, as a business owner, what's incredibly important is, reporting and settlement of funds. It's about being able to pick and choose multiple payment methods depending on where your consumer is coming from. We make that really easy for businesses. Being able to take advantage of all of the work our product teams put in to enhance checkout conversion rates, particularly important during the holiday season where, there's so much lingering around that shopping cart. You really want to be presenting as easy, as seamless, and as trustworthy a payment option as possible to make your customers just click that button and check out rather than abandon that cart and, and go off to the next thing. So, there's a breadth of other services to consider around risk management and fraud. But my point ultimately is PayPal kind of takes that onus. We bear the brunt of that. We're the experts in that. So we let you do your thing as a business owner, and we take care of the complexity of payments, whether it's risk or fraud or enhancements in how easy it is, and how smooth it is to go through the checkout. All of those elements are taken care of, and ultimately you're there to do what you do best.
Honestly, one of my earliest memories of PayPal was when I was a teenager. And this is totally not to tell my real age, but this was probably 20 years ago or something. And I took my mom's credit card to purchase a pair of Ferragamo heels on eBay. And that was my earliest memories of PayPal. Now, that in mind, PayPal has been in the business of empowering businesses basically for a very long amount of time. Can you tell us how this journey has evolved into what it is now today?
I love that story. It's such a common customer story, almost that cheekiness of okay, I'm going to use PayPal to go and, do something that I'm not quite supposed to. Yeah. I feel like my version of that is I'm always impulse buying and, I'll return something and the return funds go back into my PayPal account. So then it feels like fun money, it feels like that secret pot of cash that I've got to kind of spend on me and whatever it is that I want. So, you're right. PayPal's been around for a really long time. And, has really remained at the forefront of that digital payment revolution for the last 20 years. And we've done that by really taking financial services and commerce and making it easy and accessible and secure and trustworthy to more than 400 million consumers and merchants around the world in more than 200 markets. And, really what that does is it opens up opportunities for those consumers and businesses. And, I think, for consumers today, we provide the solution of really facilitating those simple, secure payments across devices, wherever you are in the world, whatever funding instrument you want to use. And for businesses, we power all aspects of that digital checkout, as we just discussed, whether it's mobile, in some markets in store, definitely online. We take away the burden of fraud and risk management and really offering those tools to drive greater insight and growth of your business. So look, as a company that's been around for those 22 years, and weird to say, I've actually been with the company for half of that time, I guess half of its life cycle. We now power some of the world's biggest brands. And in Southeast Asia, we work with the likes of Zalora, we work with Sephora, Love Bonito, Food Panda, Charles and Keith, all of these amazing everyday brands. And really for us, it's about expanding partnerships within the payments network to further enhance capabilities that will ultimately make businesses and consumers benefit from that expertise. And, we do that through partnerships. We do that through really smart acquisitions. We actually just acquired and announced an acquisition in Japan for the pioneer of Buy Now, Pay Later called Paydi, which is a really exciting consumer wallet for the Japanese consumer. We're investing in growing China as the biggest e-commerce market in the world. So really it's about now smart strategic bets to take our expertise and supplement that through partnership, through acquisition, and through product development, and see where that continues us on the mission of really empowering and kind of affording opportunities for consumers and businesses all around the world.
Yeah. I guess coming from like a consumer's perspective, usually I would just punch in my debit card or my credit card, and it goes straight to the bank's channel instead of going to a PayPal channel. Now, from a consumer's perspective, why should I choose PayPal to purchase my product rather than going through my bank's channel instead?
The answer is all about the expectations today of a great digital experience. And as a digital consumer, whether I'm buying on Instagram or Facebook or within a brand's app or online, what I'm really looking for is something that is safe, easy, trustworthy, and also connects me to the benefits of my cards, which I may have in my wallet and use otherwise in store if I'm going into a store in person. So they're the reasons we're seeing consumers choose us as often as they do, which is really that expectation around that simplicity. But second to that is that intuitive nature of a digital wallet, right? Like you go into a website or an app and you're able to kind of link that continuously to that platform, and it removes the need for entering your credit card details every time and your shipping information every time. So, that's really the key benefit, I guess, from a consumer perspective, is just the simplicity and the ease, and kind of like, I don't need to worry about anything else. Like, it's done at the click of a button. I don't need to get up off the couch, get my handbag, get the details and do all of that. So that's a big part of the value proposition.
Amazing. Now, just to wrap things up, I just want to end things on like a high note. Let's do a quick fire round, yeah? Well, if you could choose only one social media platform for the rest of your life, would you go with either Instagram or Facebook?
Okay, definitely Instagram for me. I'm a hopeless Instagram addict, and I'm very ashamed at how many hours I spend in the Explore tab and watching countless stories or, reels or whatever they're called these days. So Instagram for sure.
What about TikTok?
I have with my nephews and nieces, and I think I've missed that train. I'm just over the hill in terms of age to really participate in that, but I'm quite happy with my Instagram platform.
You're not the only one, but I totally get you. Now, would you have one really good product or have a million other regular products to sell?
At this stage of my life, I would definitely go for one thing that's amazing, but that really is a life stage thing for me, because if I look back at like 5 years ago, I would go and get 5 pairs of shoes that are all slightly different shades of nude, but now I just want the one killer pair that I'm absolutely obsessed with. So just one.
COVID really changes everything as well, I guess, because that's exactly the same with me. I used to buy compulsively, and then now I'm just like, I think I'll just go with the one gym top and I'm good to go. That's it. Or sneakers, and that's it. And I'm a heels girl. Imagine the sacrilege.
Yeah, well, that's the struggle of COVID, isn't it? No heels. No one can see your shoes under the screen.
Exactly. If you could choose between big time investors or crowdfunding to build your capital, which would you go for?
big time investors for sure, because of the expertise and the network that would afford you, and that would translate to opportunity for my business.
Would you rather do something you hate but be rich, or be poor doing what you love?
Oh, that's really hard. I mean, I would be poor doing what I love if my husband was rich doing what he hated. We need some balance. There's got to be some food on the table.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, honestly, one of my biggest dreams is to have is just to retire in some island, some remote island, and then potentially have my own tiki bar. But at the same time as well, I know that's probably not going to be sustainable in the long run. So I'm going to need to have a very rich husband in order to help me keep things afloat. Anyway.
Same here. You need the balance. It'd be nice.
Yeah, balance is all in the balance. And, with that in mind, thank you so much, Kasia, for joining us online here at Zalora Talks today. Truly, what an honor. And again, a massive eye-opener of a conversation, especially now for those who are just kind of starting out their own businesses, or even, currently have their own business and are just trying to, push themselves forward into, out of this darkness and into a light. Now, thanks again for joining us here today. And I will speak to everyone next time in the next episode. In the meantime, stay safe, wear your masks, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.